people that are supposed to do that out there.
Yeah.
I don't make enough comments, so.
Well, and I think there's probably maybe some that was out of concern for you.
And if it was, that's awesome that people are caring and considering and trying to look out for me, but I've never asked anybody to look after me. I've never needed for me.
Yeah, but don't people look after each other? Isn't that human nature that they...
Not really. Human nature to look after others. A lot of times I've never, like a mother, yeah. Motherly instincts, but usually it's all for yourself. I mean, that's more human nature than anything. Sadly.
Detective, did you and Detective Bellinger also interview Jason Cochran on October 28th, 2014?
Yes.
Did that interview also occur at the Iron River Police Department?
Yes.
And was it immediately after the interview with Kelly Cochran?
Yes.
And was that interview also recorded?
Yes.
Who recorded the interview?
The Iron River Police Department.
And what was done with the recording after the interview was completed?
It was given to the Iron River Police Department.
How did the interview with Jason Cochran start?
He began to start saying that he was very nervous, has anxiety. He may get flustered during questioning, and that he is seeing someone for his mental issues.
What discussion, if any, was there as to why he was there?
He said that my wife was seeing someone that went missing. He said he knows the name is Chris, but he's never met him. He wouldn't be able to pick him out of the lineup. He went on to say that he has his health issues and problems. His marriage was kind of rocky. He mentioned that Chris and the defendant, they weren't seen as much of each other lately, and because she was at home a little more.
Were you able to establish with Jason Cochran how long lately was?
It was 2 to 3 weeks.
What discussion, if any, was there regarding Jason Cochran being in the hospital?
Just that he went to Rhinelander, he was suicidal. He went there, it was like mid-September, around the 15th, 16th, 17th, he said. He was there for about 5 days.
Did Jason Cochran describe to you and the detective how he was physically or mentally before he went to the hospital?
Yes.
What did he say about that?
He said he was losing weight, he wasn't sleeping, he was restless, couldn't sit, he was always walking around anxious.
And you had indicated that he told you his marriage was rocky. Did he say anything further about his relationship with the defendant?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
I said he had indicated to you that his marriage was rocky. Did he say anything further about his relationship with the defendant? Was there a divorce pending?
No, he said either one way or the other. He had to decide either stick with the marriage or divorce, and he said he wanted to stick with it.
Back to the issue of whether or not Jason Cochran had ever threatened the defendant, did you or Detective Bellinger ask him about that?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said he never has.
And did he say why he never had?
Well, he loved Kelly. Yes, he never has.
Was there any discussion with Jason Cochran about whether he thought the defendant was afraid of him?
He thought maybe he made a few comments about how he'd lose a few hours during the day, 1 or 2 hours, because of not sleeping correctly. He said when she would sleep, he might stare at her or watch her, and that she may be frightened because of that.
What discussion, if any, was there had with Jason Cochran about hurting other people?
That he wouldn't hurt other people, any problem he had or any emotional issues, he was going to hurt himself.
Did you or Detective Bellinger make any inquiry of Jason Cochran as to whether he knew where Chris Regan lived?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said that when he would go on his walks, he did notice the Kelly's pickup truck by the apartment building, and he figured that was Chris's apartment.
And you said when he'd go on his walks. What do you mean when he'd go on his walks? Was there discussion about how often he walked or where he walked?
Yeah, he said when he felt good, because of his back and issues he had. He said he would walk down the Apple Blossom Trail from his house down to the library or downtown. There were a few times that he did walk around the apartment building or in that vicinity.
Were you able to establish how many vehicles Jason Cochran and the defendant owned?
Yes.
And how did you establish that?
Well, we asked Jason if he drove it, and he said, no, we only have one vehicle, and that was the vehicle that was there. And we also talked about the white truck in the back of the apartment that had a kayak on the back, and he just assumed that, or thought that that was Chris's truck.
And why, did he indicate why he assumed or thought it was Chris's truck?
Because the defendant mentioned going kayaking together.
What was Jason Cochran's demeanor during this portion of the interview?
Calm, cool.
Did you have, or were you able to observe him walk into the interview room?
Yes.
How did his physical health appear to you?
He looked a little weak, trying to get in and get situated in the chair.
Your Honor, at this time we would offer Joint Exhibit 7B, which is a redacted video of Jason Cochran's interview. And we have a little bit of delay from that, Your Honor.
This is 7B.
7B, correct.
I appreciate that. I'll tell you back in years, I see a therapist for anxiety. Actually, it's institutionalized for over a month ago where I just really flustered in that. So, I seem like I'm getting bummed up. I do see a therapist for it. So, let us know if you get too uncomfortable. Okay. And we'll take a break. Or allow you to do whatever you need to do to unwind. Okay. I hope I'm good because I feel comfortable, Well, Jason, you don't mind me actually come here, right? I know that somebody that my wife is kind of seeing is missing. Yes. Tell us what you know about that. Wasn't really happy, but I know my wife's kind of been seeing people the last couple of months. I don't really know much about Chris other than the name. I wouldn't be able to pick him out in life if I seen the guy. I don't really know a lot about him. I try to keep it that way because when my anxiety got going, like when she first went on a date with somebody a few months prior, just kind of been rocking the wheels for a little while. I've got some health issues. I lost a kidney and went to back surgery, and I don't kind of move around and function with that shit sometimes. So I kind of moved around and became depressed, and I didn't want to know why. So I know his name, I know his last name. His name is Chris. We kind of worked together at Oldenburg. And legally they haven't been seeing each other. And not that they haven't been seeing each other, it's just that the wife's been home a lot more, and I've been spending time with the wife. So when you say lately, how long? 2-3 weeks. After I got out of the hospital, because I went to the hospital in Rhinelander, and I was there for 5 days or so, when they're suicidal. And I don't know, after I got out, she seen that I was starting to make some positive changes. It's probably a week after that she started spending more time with me. Maybe not every day, but I get to see her more often. So when did you, if you could give me a date here, Jason, when was that? When did you get out of the hospital? I know I was in there, I think I went on the 15th or 16th. Might even have been 17th September. I know I was in for 5 days. So, when you got out, she started to spend a little more time with you? A little more time, not a lot. First week, was to see if I was actually wasn't sleeping at night. I lost like 45 pounds in 45 days, so I wasn't taking care of myself, so they got me back on track pretty good.
When you say that, Matt, and I know you're talking about the shaking, what other things went on?
I had all that stuff. It was like, you know, when you think something and you start reaching it out, well, it was kind of like they were laying on top of each other, and it was just something. You were visualizing this? No, I wasn't visualizing really anything for it, but it was always based on how creative a person I was and how, you know, I don't deserve to live because you know, the correct my body is, and I can't talk for 3 months. So it was all depression and feelings like that. So when I see a bad man, I don't mean like I'm out running things around the net, but when you can't sleep and you're not eating anything, I really felt like everything was out to get me. So that's why I went to the emergency room in Iron Mountain, and then they arranged for me to be sent somewhere else.
How long was your life like that?
Oh, at least the last 3 or 4 months before I went in. But I gradually got worse, since the mid-90s. Lost a close friend, breast since.
And did you think that's what caused all your issues?
Huge part of it.
Yeah.
And you're on knowing that my marriage is falling apart. No.
Yeah, that didn't help either. So you were very much aware of what Kelly was doing.
I never had to accept it or let it go. So I decided that I could at least accept it for a little while and see if this, you know, she really wanted us to now be with me, and I was going to let it go. But at first I wanted to kind of hold on for so long.
Was Chris the only one?
No, there was at least one other, his name was Derek. I never met him either. If I seen him somewhere, I didn't know who he was. And there might have been funny that she went out with it. It wasn't a date that I thought was a date. So, you know, I've been having it for a while. You know, she always told me it wasn't like they were in love, you know, just that they were, you know, going on doing things, and, you know, she said it wasn't like what we do, but, you know, I was definitely having the issues.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like something that should be,
Well, it was my choice on whether to divorce or try to stick it out for a little while. And if things, you know, things didn't change, like I don't know what's in the house, we probably divorced right now. We were that close to that point. So it's not like I was in the dark about it. Or anything that I know of this.
Jason, you said you were suicidal.
Yes.
Did you ever threaten Kelly?
No.
Did you ever think about taking her life?
No. I was always so down on myself. And he kept his problems in my mind before I went in all about because I was angry.
Do you think, did anything ever happen? Did you ever say or do anything that would give her that impression?
Can you steer with me?
Yeah.
I thought she could have afraid of me going so I wouldn't be sleeping at night because I would get like an hour or two during the day. You know, she'd wake up and I'd be sitting there watching her because I couldn't sleep. So that could make somebody feel a little uncomfortable.
But you never threatened to kill her?
No, I don't. I'm not one. I was in the hospital because I was feeling suicidal myself. I never really thought I wanted her to be for anything. Like I said, it was always I thought it was my fault. So if I did say something like that, it's not a character or something I don't remember saying at all. They did kind of diagnose me as delusional when I was in there. So I mean, I haven't been able to talk about it.
There may have been something that you don't recall.
That I don't recall. And then my first few days, I felt nice and calm as could be, but roughly 6 foot tall. I don't know how tall, so it's, you know, in a city truck. Other than that, I don't really have a guess.
You know where he lives?
I've seen Kelly's truck parked in an apartment building on, right on the main drag right there. And since I've seen her truck there often, I assume that that's where it is.
Have you ever been there?
I walked past the house, but I've seen the truck there. You know?
Did you walk from your house all the way over there?
I walked to the library a few different times from my house. When the body feels good, I try to get out and stretch as much as I can. I got sciatica, some bad discs, and I go for big stretches where I can't move. The trail is really nice and flat, so I do walk to the library semi-often. I walked, you know, stop at the library and take like a 2-hour break, you know, and I walk around a little bit more, just trying to kind of see the community and stuff like that. Yeah, I could drive her truck there, or I've seen it a couple of times. You know, I figured that's where somebody was. Like I said, I think that she was dating kind of here as well.
Where does Eric live?
I don't know the truck, you know, about the truck being there because it's parked into one side, you know, and it wasn't, you know, it's like a 2-mile walk or so, so I feel good. You know, I can walk 2 miles to get in June today, and I'd be struggling because the local circuits are broken again.
So Jason, when you say you walked by there, did you park your vehicle someplace and then?
Oh, no, because we only have the little truck.
So you were on move?
Yeah, I was just walking, and this would have been back when I couldn't sleep at night or anything like that, you know, over a month ago. So,
Did Kelly ever spend the night there?
there were times when she came home about 1:30, they didn't tell me where she was at, and I didn't really want to know. I hate to say it, I don't know if any does matter if you're married, but if you suspect your wife or something, or your significant other, sometimes you don't really want to know. You know, she told me that she goes out in her truck and she was fishing, and I figured she was just be nice.
Is Kelly, how do I want to say it, maybe sufficient high maintenance, require a lot of attention?
Not usually.
No? What's with the boyfriends?
I think that she was either trying to get me to change or trying to move on. When my body first started coming out with me with Indiana, I had about 18 months of criminal. She stayed with me. Yeah, she was pretty happy.
That's okay, take your time.
Yeah, she was okay. She said, and then she... Sorry. But I know we were together. She was over here with us.
You kind of understand why you're here?
Yeah. I think so. You know, when you're somebody's position, I'm going to guess I'm probably the jealous husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I want to try to be as open about anything as I can, but unfortunately I didn't know about so much stuff, you know. It's too bad, my depression.
Detective, were you able to establish during this interview whether Jason Cochran had ever been inside Chris Regan's apartment?
Yes.
Okay, and how did you establish that?
Was he in the apartment?
Was he in the apartment?
Right, we asked him, he was not in the apartment.
Did you talk to him about the telephone situation?
Yes.
What, if anything, did Jason Cochran say about how long they had been sharing a phone?
He said a few days or so they were sharing a phone.
And was there any discussion regarding whether Jason Cochran knew Chris Regan was gone?
Jason. Right.
Like, how did he know, or how did he find out that Chris Regan was missing?
Oh, because of the night before that interview, the police went to his house, to Jason's house, to talk to the defendant.
What, if anything, did Jason Cochran say about whether he ever dated women outside of the marriage?
He never did,
And did he indicate why?
because he loved Kelly.
Was he asked about whether the defendant was capable of doing anything to Chris Regan?
Yes.
And what was his response to that?
He said, I don't think so.
He didn't say no, he said, I don't think so.
Correct.
Was there discussion with him regarding whether there'd been any abuse between him and the defendant?
Yes.
And what was his response?
None.
Was he directly asked if he had anything to do with Chris Regan's disappearance?
Yes.
And what was his response?
He said, no, I did not.
Did you or Detective Bellinger ask him if he knew who did it?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did he say?
He said, no, I do not.
And was there any discussion regarding whether he would report it, even if it was the defendant who did something to Chris Regan?
There was discussion about that, yes.
And was his response different this time?
Yes, he said, that's a tough question. He said that he wouldn't think that she would do anything, but he wasn't sure.
So it wasn't, she did not do it, that's a tough question.
Correct.
What discussion, if any, was held about the marriage between Jason Cochran and the defendant in Indiana?
There wasn't any discussion.
There wasn't any discussion about the marriage in Indiana prior to them moving?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. They discussed their marriage and they said that it was rocky and that she was seeing other people down there also. And that she was staying with him out of pity.
Was there any indication how long their marriage had been rocky in Indiana?
He said about 2 years, approximately 2 years.
Did you or Detective Bellinger discuss with him how the marriage was doing prior to the interview? Just prior to the interview?
Good. It was doing better.
I'm going to change direction here on you. On January 14th, 2015, did you receive some flash drive and discs of videos from local businesses?
Yes.
And what did those flash drives and discs have on them?
There were video of local businesses of like Crystal Oil, of outside cameras and inside cameras, and then there were some of local banks also.
Was that something that investigators were doing as going along US 2 and collecting video surveillance?
Yes.
Did you and Detective Bellinger have transcripts prepared of the interview that we have here?
Yes.
And I have those marked. I just don't know where they are. Your Honor, we do have a stipulation to admit those.
Joint Exhibit 8. Is that what it's marked?
It is not marked yet. Maybe the next one. Which is
Are you marking them separately?
Your Honor, we have a stipulation, so it would be a joint exhibit.
I know that, but you have 2 interviews of 2 individuals. Are they marked together or separately?
I'm marking them together.
Each received.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions for the
Thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Shelby.
Just a quick point, because I think we've, perhaps I missed something, because I've never seen something else, or what was that, what were you marked, what was that?
Those were item for Exhibit 13, or Joint Exhibit 13.
There's some other ones I've not been made yet, so.
That was Joint Exhibit 13.
Correct.
I had that was 8. So for the record, the transcripts are Joint Exhibit 13.
I want to clarify that, Rob. Thank you. Junior, sir, how are you doing? Good. Let you know it's very helpful to watch the video. It's certainly cut down on a lot of the questions I was going to ask you, and perhaps take some other witnesses as well. So it was tedious, but probably might save us some time in the long run. Now, we just watched a good portion of the interviews, and Ms. Cochran came down to the Yard River Police Department willingly on the day in question. Is that fair to say? Same for Mr. Cochran. And when you asked about her phone number, she willingly gave it to you. She didn't hesitate or anything of that nature.
Correct.
Well, Mrs. Cochran was being interviewed. Where was Jason? Was he just outside the door? Was he in another room? Where was he?
He was at his house.
He was at his house. Okay, thank you. There was some discussion about Kelly being in a tiff, we'll call it, with Mr. Regan, and that was she alluded to a verbal argument, correct?
Yes.
And again, there's no indication that ever became physical. Is that correct?
Correct.
Also discussed in a portion that we did not see. I think he talked to both Kelly and Jason about why Jason had lied to the authorities the night before. Do you remember that part of that discussion?
I do, yes.
Could you tell us what both of them said in regard to why Jason had lied about Kelly not being home the night previously?
Well, he thought that, or Jason thought that the police were coming there to arrest her or take her away on some medical warrants or something that she may have had.
Okay. And did they allude to it perhaps in the past that a family member had been taken away for some medical warrants or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. Apparently something they do elsewhere, correct?
Yes.
At any point during the interview, I believe it was Trooper Ballinger that asked that if Jason had ever become violent, if he'd ever thrown things. Do you indicate? What did he indicate as far as that?
He never became violent. No.
He never indicated that in the past he had thrown things?
I would have to look or listen to that video or that part to make sure before I answer.
So it's very possible, but yeah, you just don't recall.
Yeah, I have, before I answer.
Fair enough. When we interviewed Jason, and again, another portion that we did not view here today, there was some discussion about other relationships that Kelly had, perhaps with a gentleman named Ken. Do you recall that portion of the interview at all?
Yes.
And do you recall how Jason found out about this, I shouldn't call it a relationship, but perhaps this encounter with this gentleman named Ken?
Okay. Just at work, they work together.
Okay. But I guess what I'm getting at is, do you recall Jason telling you that he had looked at Kelly's phone and then had, shortly thereafter, she had changed put a password on her phone. Do you recall that part of the interview?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, we heard about how Jason had taken a walk and by happenstance came across Kelly's truck, or the family truck outside some apartment buildings. Do you remember hearing about that?
Yes.
And Jason also indicated that he never knocked on the door at that apartment. Is that correct as well?
Correct.
Do you remember how he characterized how he felt after seeing that truck at that location?
At one conversation with him, I remember he said he felt angry or a lot of anxiety, and then he left right away.
Did he indicate something to the fact that he felt like jumping off a bridge? Is that, if I say that, does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
Okay. Covered that. Now, during the interview, I think it was pretty apparent that Trooper Ballinger was concerned for Kelly's safety. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you share her concerns?
Yes.
And again, how about after you spoke to Jason Cochran? Were your concerns alleviated, or did they become more stronger, I guess, is the way to say it?
I don't know if they became really stronger. I think we were thinking the same, we just wanted to make sure she was okay.
And again, she indicated several times she's a big girl and take care of herself. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, I meant to make note of it. I missed it and I apologize. But you've been in law enforcement for quite a while. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how long was that again?
Almost 20 years.
That's what I thought you had said, but I wanted to be sure. And presumably at some point you were on patrol. Is that correct?
Yes.
And presumably at that, while on patrol, you've gone to a scene where domestic violence has been alleged.
Correct.
And in your experience coming up to that scene, has there ever been a time where a supposed victim or alleged victim of domestic violence was hesitant to come forward or make a claim?
Yes.
Is that fairly common or uncommon in your experience?
I don't know if it's real common. I'd have to think back on some time I haven't thought about it much.
Okay, but you've seen it happen.
Yes. Yeah.
And even after perhaps talking to the person, have they maintained and stuck to their guns and say, nope, nothing happened here?
Yes.
And even if you had a feeling that just wasn't right, that wasn't true, they still stuck to their guns. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Again, I think with looking at the videos, and again, just want to make sure I've checked off everything. I think we've hit everything I want to talk to you about, so I thank you for your time, sir. Yes, thank you.
And if you recommend it to the scope of the cross,
I've done your own.
thank you, sir. You can step down.
Your Honor, I don't know if this would be a good time to take a break. We've been here about an hour.
You have that.
I have Detective Rydell. It's going to take about 2 hours.
So the logical break in about 15 minutes. I'm sorry, did you say this was going to be live testimony?
Live, I believe that there's 2 video clips.
All right, let's get started.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Detective Tom Rydell. That's correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Saylor?
That's correct. There are 2 sailors, so that was Mr. Todd Sailor. Todd.
You stand, raise your right hand, and swear by the clerk.
Do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Thomas Rydell, R-A-J-A-L-A.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a detective sergeant with the Michigan State Police, assigned to the Calumet Post.
And how long have you been with Michigan State Police?
Just about 23 years,
And how long have you been a detective with the Michigan State Police?
almost 12 years.
Were you in law enforcement prior to being with Michigan State Police?
Yes, for almost 2.5 years.
Where was that at?
On time with County Sheriff's Office.
Were you tasked to assist in the investigation involving Chris Regan?
Yes,
What date did you become involved in the investigation?
on October 30th, 2014.
Were you involved in various interviews with the Cochrans?
Yes,
Did anyone accompany you when you did these interviews with the Cochrans?
yes, Detective Sergeant Chris Braddock.
What dates did those interviews occur?
On October 31st, November 4th, and December 18th of 2014.
So when you did the interview on October 31st, where did this interview occur?
The interview occurred in front of the Cochran residence. inside of Detective Sergeant Brackett's vehicle.
And why did you want to speak with her on that day?
Basically, what we wanted to get is, you know, a statement from her. See, that was the first time I was involved on any interviews, and so we wanted to also get some statements from her regarding the you know, her activities on the 14th, 15th of October.
Was the discussion in the car recorded?
Pardon me?
Was the discussion in the vehicle recorded?
Yes, all the interviews were audio recorded.
And what did you do with the recording upon completion of the interview?
All the recordings were downloaded to a disc, and I provided those discs to Detective Sergeant Brackett.
Your Honor, at this time, I would offer Joint Exhibit 8B, which is a copy of the interview with Kelly Cochran on 10/31/2014.
B as in boy.
B as in boy, correct?
Thank you.
When, in between talking with Kelly Cochran October 28th, 2014, and then on October 31st, 2014, did you or one of the other officers hear from Kelly Cochran?
I did not. No,
You did not?
I did not. I didn't become involved until the 30th.
Oh, okay. In talking with her on October 31st, what were you focused on during that interview?
The 14th and 15th, that time frame of October.
Okay, and what led you to believe that those dates were particularly important?
Because at our debriefing, what the information it was providing was Kelly Cochran was the last person to see Chris Regan alive, and that would be on the 14th.
So what did you ask her about first?
Basically, the 15th, about going to his apartment, and then also when we got into the 14th, basically her activities with Regan on the 14th.
And did you isolate from her what she did on the 15th?
On the 15th, yes.
What did she tell you about 15th?
She said she tried to get a hold of him on the 15th and didn't get any response, so she went to his apartment and basically checked on him because she didn't get any response from him.
And did she indicate to you when she last physically saw him?
On the 14th.
And what was she doing with him on the 14th?
She said she had dinner with him. She went over to his apartment, arriving there approximately 4:30, and left at approximately 8 o'clock. She brought dinner, lasagna, and some garlic bread. Had dinner and left right around 8 o'clock because he was to bed at 8:30.
What discussion, if any, did you have with her regarding what she did after she left Chris Regan's house that night?
She said she believed she went directly home and would have most likely stayed home the rest of the evening.
Was there any discussion with her regarding what her husband was doing that night while she was at Chris Regan's apartment?
She believed he was home as well.
And this is a little bit, intrusive, but was there any indication as to whether or not she and Chris Regan had had sexual relations that night?
She told us that on this particular night there was no sexual relations or intimacy between the two of them.
What discussion, if any, was had regarding with the defendant regarding her husband being offended?
She told us her husband was offended because on a prior interview he was accused of being a primary suspect in the disappearance of Chris Regan.
Did she elaborate on that at all?
I don't recall. I mean, I wasn't there for the interview. What I do recall is she saying that he was offended because he was accused of being a suspect.
At this point in time, when you were talking to her on October 31st, did you have any knowledge as to whether Chris Regan made it to his job in North Carolina?
if memory serves me correctly, yeah, the information we received is that he did not make it to North Carolina.
And did you tell her that he did not make it to North
I
Carolina?
believe we did, yes.
And what was her response?
I don't recall anything that stood out, like in shock or anything. I think it was just basically brought up in part of the conversation, part of the interview.
Did she appear distressed during the interview that Chris Regan did not make it to North Carolina?
No.
At this point, did you tell her Chris Regan's car was found in the parking lot in Bates Amazon?
Yes, we did.
And what was her reaction to that?
The impression that I received was that she had no idea where the parking ride, well, when we first told her where the Bates Amazon road was, she didn't know where that was at. So we described, the parking ride, and she, after describing that location, then she asked if that was near the Mapleton, and we said, it was. So I think after she asked if it was by the Mapleton, that's when she said, okay, there's a parking ride.
Did she ask you if there was a hiking trail near the parking lot?
She asked, when we told her that the car was parked, or was found in that parking ride, she told us that she didn't see why the vehicle would be there. Then she asked us, is there any hiking trails nearby? Because Chris liked to hike. So she asked if there was any hiking trails.
What discussion was there, if any, about Chris being at the defendant's house?
We had asked her if Chris Regan had ever been to her house, and she said that he had been a couple of 2-3 times in the past.
What discussion, if any, was held regarding her cell phone and communications with Chris Regan?
Can you be more specific, please?
Sure. Did she indicate to you whether or not she tried to call Chris Regan on October 14th?
Yes. The 14th, I don't recall offhand on the 14th, but I know the 15th, she said she had tried to reach him several times, texted him, called him quite a few times.
What discussion, if any, was there regarding whether she had ever used Jason's phone to contact Chris Regan?
During this interview, she said the only time, she said she always used her phone. She didn't believe she used Jason's phone, but the only time she would use Jason's phone is if her phone were broken or something along that lines.
Did she, to be more specific, did she indicate whether or not she had ever used Jason's phone to call Chris Regan?
During this particular interview, I don't believe so. I think it may have been on a subsequent interview. Just between the 3 different interviews, sometimes it's difficult to
Remember what happened?
yeah, what was said during this interview versus the first, second, third one.
So you mentioned that you thought that she had said that she tried to contact Chris Regan on the 15th.
Yes.
Was that the same day that Chris Regan was supposed to go for his drug test?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you whether she had gone to his house on Wednesday, the 15th?
She did. She said that she had tried texting and calling him. She didn't get a response. So then she drove by Regan's place, and his car and his truck were both home. So she went in there to check on him. She said that she had a key that Regan had given her about a month and a half prior. So she let herself into the apartment. She was in there for a couple of minutes, looked around, he wasn't there, and she left.
Was there a time frame that she gave you that she went over to his house?
She initially said between 12 and 5, but then after talking with her a little more, we were able whittle the time down to between 3 and 5.
Was there any discussion with her regarding why she didn't report Chris being missing or request a well-being check on him when he didn't respond to her text?
She initially said she was somewhat, she sort of believed that maybe he just took off, and she had some concern, but then also she was kind of, use her words, pissed, that maybe he just went ahead and left. Without saying goodbye. So she said there was some concern, but then she was kind of pissed, and then just thought, well, maybe he just took off and just didn't want to say goodbye.
Were you able to establish with her when or what time Chris Regan would have gotten up to go to his drug test?
So we asked, talking with her, she told us that Chris usually got up about 2:45 every morning for work. He went to work at 4 a.m. And she told us that she knows that Chris had set his alarm clock prior to his normal 2:45 time for getting up for work.
What, if any, discussion did you have with her regarding whether Chris would be one to walk around town rather than take his vehicle?
She said the only time he ever walked anywhere was to the store, the Jubilee next door. She said he wouldn't walk.
When you informed her that his car was in the park and ride, did she say anything about his vehicle?
Yeah, she said that vehicle is, I think it was on the, was his baby. He really cherished that car. She said that wouldn't be like him to leave his car, in a parking ride.
I'm going to go back now and direct you back to when you were talking with her about the number of times Chris had been to her house. Did you ask her, or was there any discussion regarding how Chris Regan knew to get to her house?
Yeah, we asked her, how would he know? And she said that she gave him directions a couple of times, and while they're just driving around, she also pointed out their house. So I guess between the two, the two times that she gave directions, and also another time that they drove by it as they were driving around together. So he's at least 3 times that he was told how to get there.
Did you find that odd?
I did, because she also said that he was very good with directions. He knew his way around. If he was out in the woods, he could navigate his way out, and just overall he was good with directions. Where she herself said that she was horrible with directions, and so it was kind of odd that he would need directions 3 times to a place, in the city, in an area.
When you were asking her about the direction issue, did you already have knowledge that there was a Post-it note found in his vehicle with directions?
Yes.
Was there any discussion regarding the knee brace?
I'm going to switch gears here and let's take a recess. Members of the jury, we're going to recess for approximately 15 minutes. Again, I caution you that you can discuss